Both teams don't strike you with a whole lot of confidence that they can seize opportunities in front of them. Toronto gave up a game, the opening game where Kyle Lowry went scoreless. You can't have your third best player, your franchise mainstay, perform that way. Philly dropped their first game, but basically dominated the rest of the series. What I will say is, CC, I think this is a Jimmy Butler series. If you're Philadelphia,
right?
Jimmy Butler is going to go head up against Kawhi Leonard. He measured himself. I covered Jimmy Butler for years in Chicago. When he was starting to come up and get notoriety as a star, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George were the two guys that was the mark on his board.
Okay, yes.
So this is one of those series. And those two guys worked out together in San Diego. They were Jordan Brand guys, all that type of stuff. So I'm very curious to see if he's going to emerge from the shadows. He allowed Simmons and Embiid and Tobias Harris to take more of a front-facing role in this previous series. But going up against a counterpart, that's going to be hard for him to stay in the background. And I'm very curious to see if he's going to be the difference. If they win, he's going to be the difference more so than Simmons and Embiid.
Well, I do like the point as far as that, knowing the history there, because that is right. Jimmy Butler, from when he started to emerge in the Eastern Conference with the Bulls, he was always compared to Paul George and Kawhi Leonard.
Yep.
All three of them. Then he started to improve his jump shot. Then you can start to say, wow, Jimmy Butler's one of the elite players that we have. I believe he'll play an important role. I don't believe that he matches up with Kawhi. I believe Kawhi will be able to get him into foul trouble. So I believe they'll have a rotation as far as the Sixers on Kawhi compared to just predominantly it being Jimmy Butler. Tobias Harris, he plays a key role because he provides some more length. I believe the edge goes to Toronto, not only having the home court. Joel Embiid is not 100%.
No.
And I believe that they can wear him down more and more because the second round and the pressure of the playoffs, for Joel to be able to perform the way he did, I believe that gets him out of sync and that offense, because when he's dominating the ball, he's a great player. Their offense, it's hard for Jimmy Butler. It's harder for Ben Simmons. So how do they work that out in probably the most pressure situation they'll be in the second round matchup with the Raptors, Nick?
The Raptors should have the edge. They have the home court advantage. They are the healthier team, and they have the guy that I think most people believe is the best player in the series, in Kawhi. Embiid's great, but even Embiid at 100% is not yet what Kawhi Leonard is and what Kawhi Leonard's been every year of his career, except for last year when he was hurt and didn't play. So they should have the edge. If Philly is going to be able to not only make this a series, but win the series, the point you made, I'm in 100% lockstep on, which is Jimmy Butler. He can't play Kawhi to a push, but have it be close. Have Jimmy Butler give you 75 to 80% of what Kawhi is giving Toronto. The other element, though, I'm going to put on the shoulders of Brett Brown. You want Joel Embiid to play every game of this series. How can you get the Ben Simmons that has shown up when Joel has not played in games with Joel Embiid? When you have a short bench as well, does that mean you bring either Joel or Ben off the court earlier than usual, so one of those guys is on the court with a second unit, so you don't, because they could go to die in these series at the end of the first quarter into the third quarter. Philly could play Toronto even for 42 minutes of the game, but the last 3 minutes of the first, last 3 minutes of the third, when the subs come in, Toronto could beat them by 18 in those stretches and win the series based on that. Can Brett Brown, does he have a plan? Has he been planning for this series since the bracket's been set? Because he should have been. Because we knew Toronto was going to beat Orlando, and if Philly couldn't get past Brooklyn, despite how Game 1 went, it would have been a travesty. So does Brett Brown have a new wrinkle, a new rotation ready for this series?
I don't even know if it comes down to that. I think coaching, especially in the NBA, is more about people management than X's and O's. And I think for years during that process, there was less people management than anything else. And do you have the heart, do you have the gumption to tell Joel Embiid, you're going against Marc Gasol, don't make this a Damian Lillard, Russell Westbrook situation where you want to outplay him. This may not be his series for him to score 25, 30 points a night. This may be a series for him to be rim protector, rebounder, defender, screener, opportunistic scorer, because you have enough of that in Ben Simmons when he's aggressive, in Jimmy Butler, in Tobias Harris when you feature him. But will Joel Embiid listen to that? Will he be amenable to that? Or will he say, look, I want to get us to the conference finals. I want to be the guy to take us there. And not as an ego thing, but as I'm first-team NBA center. I'm 26-13-3. Like, let me live up to that. But this may not be his series.
CC, how much does the second round of the playoffs come down to, Joel Embiid and Kawhi Leonard going out there and leading their team and going out there and playing basketball the way they know how to play with their units? And how much is it going to come down to what we see from Nick Nurse and what he does with the depth for Toronto and what we see from Brett Brown and what he does with the rotation of maybe Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid? How much does coaching factor into a game like that?
I believe the coaches getting the other players and their roles and what they're going to do. The player that I believe could be the biggest story is Pascal Siakam. Man, he is a nightmare. I mean, shooting the three, taking it off the dribble, him defending, him and Kawhi on the defensive end. So I believe the rotations play a key. Who's going to get the shots, how the offenses are run. And Brett Brown's got to make a decision because they have said all year the offense goes through Joel Embiid for 3 quarters, and then Jimmy Butler is going to take over at the end. This playoffs has been nothing like that. What do they do in this series? So I believe that the coaching in playoffs, it becomes more than just managing people because, man, role players are role players for a reason. But if you put me in a role that I'm not comfortable with, I believe that coach that can find that comfort spot in those other players has a huge advantage.
And we talk about Philly having a short rotation. I think in this series it's going to get even shorter. I don't think Boban can play in this series. Not against the big men Toronto has. Because Marc Gasol can hit 18-footers, Serge Ibaka can hit 18-footers. And when Boban's out there, I mean, he is good within, like you would say about Ben Simmons, within 3 feet of the basket. But that's on both ends of the court, offensive and defensive. So I think now all of a sudden your backup center is probably unplayable Kendrick Perkins a la in the NBA Finals years ago. The one other thing we haven't, I don't think, focused on enough is how good can Ben Simmons be in this series on both sides of the ball? Kyle Lowry cannot guard him. And I think it would be a misappropriation of resources.
Hey, I saw Jared Dudley guard Ben Simmons. Okay,
right, but Jared, so here's the difference, though, in my eyes. Ben Simmons, if Kyle Lowry's on him, he can go to work in the post. He can just use his 8-inch height advantage on Kyle Lowry and his strength advantage in a way he doesn't have on Jared Dudley. So if Ben Simmons is the guy I think he should be, you can't have Kyle Lowry on him. Conversely, Ben Simmons should have
Kyle Lowry, I believe, is going to guard JJ.
He's a pit, and Kyle Lowry is a pit bull.
Yes, and going back home Philadelphia, where he played this college ball. That's going to be interesting, that battle.
If Philly's going to have a real shot at pulling off the upset, Ben Simmons has to win that battle. And on the other end, Ben Simmons needs some minutes on Kawhi. Ben Simmons needs to be guarding Kawhi Leonard in critical stretches of this series. Now, I understand it ticks down. The question always is, so where do you put J.J. Redick? I get it. Like, whenever, at some point, J.J. Redick's got to guard somebody. But Ben Simmons is one of the best, at times, perimeter defensive players in the league. And as long as Kawhi is, Ben Simmons is longer. If you can put Ben Simmons on Kawhi, use Jimmy Butler on Pascal Siakam, use Jimmy Butler elsewhere, then all of a sudden, I think you have an edge for Philadelphia if Ben Simmons can have it.
They're going to put Kawhi Leonard on Ben Simmons. That's going to be the matchup through this series, because when they did that, he could barely dribble the ball up floor. He wanted no part of.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.